What's up, everyone? Oh, I thought I was live everywhere, but I believe I am live everywhere now. Okay. All right. Let me get Ridgeway's song down. Here we go. Bolshevik tactics and Tesla takedown effort. This propaganda report. I am Brad Binkley. Before diving in, because this is related, it's very relevant. Here's what protesters were doing outside of the Georgia Capitol earlier today. Let me see if I can make that bigger. It's about 10 seconds long, and I will describe what happens in this video to those listening on audio only after I play it. Outside the Golden Dome in Atlanta, just this afternoon.
I'm a criminal. I was free once, now I'm clinical. You so technical. This was Mexico. And everybody goes home by Mexico. I'm a criminal. I was free once.
Okay.
Now
That's I didn't even notice the photographer, obviously a lesbian and a wife beater. I think that's definitely a butch lesbian in my opinion. What happened in this video is that there's a woman in a battery-powered wheelchair who appears to be dressed in a dominatrix suit, who is pulling behind her on two people, one on the left, one on the right wheel. On one side, someone who is on all fours with a leash around their neck, dressed as President Trump. On the other side, walking, but also with a leash around his neck, Elon Musk, all in broad daylight, in clear view, as you can see. For those watching, let me wind it back a little bit. There are children. There's a kid back here. They're doing this weird, sexually deviant activism in front of children in broad daylight. Now, I have to say that you lose a little bit of the sympathy of being in a wheelchair when you're in a sex suit engaging in some twisted form of public B&D in front of kids. They love using this strategy. I've talked about it a lot on the show, how at Netroots Nation, they advised all of their activists in training, we want to see police officers pulling people out of wheelchairs and arresting them all over every major newspaper in the country. So they put people in wheelchairs on the front lines intentionally. But you're going to lose that sympathy when you look like the Gimp from Pulp Fiction. It's just so out of touch here. Maybe I'll go through some of the comments on this video afterwards. AJ says, I thought that was a guy dressed like Mario. This timeline is insane. You're right. It's crazy. All that person had to do was to put on a Elon's taking my rights, whatever. Elon's taking my health benefits away. Something where they have the lines catchy like that. And they just give that person a t-shirt, and that person can go sit in one of the state senator's office or House of Reps office and refuse to leave until police take them out of there. And then one of her friends, or they's friends, takes a photo, and then they send it to all of the major news networks, and then they blast it and they say, look what Trump and Elon are doing to handicap people. But you ruin it when you have on leather bondage and you're doing deviant sex stuff in front of children. I'm sorry. How do you not recognize this? What group of people in America is this type of activism targeting? I feel like this group here is going to get a a whipping. I can even see the putting Trump on a leash. What they should have done is they should have had somebody dress as Elon Musk and have him walk Trump on a leash. That would have been more effective and more in line with what they were trying to do. Their organizer was probably like, you might have misunderstood the email. We're acting like Elon Musk is president and he is in charge of Trump. We're not acting like they're both going to an LA sex party full of people that are on the Epstein list that nobody's ever going to see. Where did you even get this bondage? How did this person even get in this? That's what's crazy about this, because this person appears to be handicapped. Could be faking, but does look to be handicapped, judging by her legs. Somebody had to help her. And for those listening, this is a large woman. Get into this bondage thing and then put her in this wheelchair. They got up in the morning and they said, put me in sick, dirty bondage and lift me up and put me in the wheelchair. We're going to go ball gag the president and Elon Musk in front of children today. And somebody said, okay, as your caregiver, I'll go get the leather. It's wild how out of touch some of these activism. It is. I guess they just lose control of some of it. Maybe it is. It's ridiculous. It is. What's up, Steve? So that's what's going on in Atlanta right now. I wish I was down there. I would have loved to have tried to interview the president. Mr. President, Mr. Musk, who is this woman? Yeah, I'm sure they would have been happy to talk. But that poor kid in the background. And where's that kid's parents in the background? That's awful. This kind of stuff is going on all across the country. Not just yesterday, but the past few weeks, and it's going to continue to go on, probably for the next 4 years. Because despite all of the claims of oppression that people like to throw around in this country, we don't live in tough times. That's why these types of protests that you're witnessing here happen. This doesn't happen when you live in tough times. I've never been to this country, but I doubt there's a lot of dominatrix and battery-powered wheelchairs pulling someone dressed as their head of state around on a leash in Sudan. I don't think there's a lot of this going on over there. Probably don't have time to, because they're spending most of their time looking for food. So these are not tough times we live in. These are ridiculous times that we live in. And in such ridiculous times, the reason people are behaving the way this person's behaving in public is because they're activist organizers who think they're dumb and who would never do these things that they do, have activated them all around the country using Bolshevik and Stalininsky tactics, and they've told them to do whatever weird stuff that they've been led to believe is necessary to fight back against Trump. And more importantly, the new boogeyman, Elon Musk and Doge. Oh my gosh, Elon is going to take away all my rights. I better put some bondage on, get in a wheelchair, and drag my weird furry buddy by the neck dressed as Trump. That's the only way to stop this. That's a very expensive wheelchair, too, by the way. That's not something you pick up at the pawn shop. That's probably a $20,000 wheelchair right there. So, with that said, this movement is part of a broader movement that those behind it are calling the Tesla Takedown, which thus far, as we talked about on the show yesterday, has resulted in Tesla dealerships being the target of vandals, of hundreds of protesters occupying the lobby and shouting down random workers who are just trying to do their job. No way it doesn't affect Elon Musk, only the workers that work there. And it's made them the target, the Tesla dealerships, of Molotov cocktails being tossed through their windows and at the cars. Not to mention this growing trend of Tesla charging stations being set on fire across the country. And there's been a couple more stories or incidents since last night's show, just to show you the continuing trend. Yesterday, in Charleston, South Carolina, a masked man who was in clear view of onlookers at a nearby Mellow Mushroom spray painted, it says, expletive, I'm guessing F Trump. F Trump, long live Ukraine. Spray painted that near a bank of Tesla charging stations before attempting to set the vehicle ports on fire with a Molotov cocktail made a makeshift one out of a beer bottle, only to fail to set the Tesla charging stations on fire and accidentally setting himself on fire instead. Before the dude fled away on foot before police could arrive towards the nearby Zaxby's and behind the hotels next to it. Just a flaming ball of retard escaping to probably a Motel 6. Can you imagine? This guy thought that he was going to be in front of this pizza place and people are watching him because he wants to get the media attention and he wants to be rewarded as the best activist, having to go back to the whatever tent they're staying in the woods, wherever they're hiding out. How'd it go? Do you have any aloe? It's what an embarrassing, if you're going to do something like this, to not even set the target on fire, but to set your, he should have just got arrested because they see getting arrested as like a badge of honor. But he ran. He was a flamer. He turned into a literal flamer. Yeah, they're all. That's a good point. You know, I thought about that when I said that, Zach. Aren't all Molotov cocktails makeshift? Yeah, I actually thought that exact thought when I said that. That's funny. So, I would love to interview this guy. Just the thinking behind it. Because he's got to redeem himself. He's got to do it. He's got to be like, I'll do better next time. I'll not set myself on fire next time. And hopefully, maybe I'll take out a charging station. The cops didn't catch him, though. I imagine the cops probably felt sorry for him. Got to be demoralizing for the poor guy. On top of that, there were also 3 Tesla vehicles at a Tesla dealership in Massachusetts that were vandalized. It's also yesterday. With all 4 wheels on each vehicle damaged and 2 others defaced with spray paint. That's a weird thing to target also, isn't it? Here's what we do. Let's see if we can pop these tires, then we'll spray paint a dick on them or something. That sounds like maybe it's not accurate. Why focus only on the tires? Maybe they work at the dealership. Maybe they're like, you can't touch the actual body of the car. But you can hit the tires. We got to change them anyway. Go ahead. Just don't set yourself on fire and run behind a Zaxby's. And these things aren't going to be stopping anytime soon. So check this out. This is from actionnetwork.org. Make that a little bigger. And so there's like 5 groups that they're saying. Indivisible is definitely one of them. I've been covering them for a while. But they're like talking about these 5 groups that are behind this movement, which I think there's more than that. But a couple of the others are Troublemakers and the Disruption Project, which are, they're like brother and sister to, or they and they, to the Indivisible, with Indivisible being kind of the main one. But on the Action Network, you can see down here all of the, this is yesterday, they had a couple, Down with Musk and Tesla, direct action, Musk must go, Tesla Tuesday, Down with Musk, Doge, and Tesla, Tesla Takedown, Paramus, is that what it says? Tesla protest at Palo Alto showroom, so you're going to be showing up there. That was today. And then we have a couple that are tomorrow at the Okies Resist, which is in Broadway, Oklahoma. And then Tesla Takedown SLU evening rush hour picket. So those are 2 tomorrow, and I guarantee you this will be filled back up again for next week. And I also saw on Mobilize, I think it's mobilize.us, whatever that Mobilize site is where they tell everybody to organize, there is actually one right down the street from me happening over the weekend. They're all going to the Tesla store. Just the thought process. Like, I wonder if they ever have the conversation about, aren't these people just regular employees? Like, do they think that everybody at these dealerships has a direct line to Elon? Half of them might be Democrats for all they know. No, you got to picture them all as that villain Elon. And you can see that these groups, they say here, and I'm going to show you some of these tactics here in a second. Like, I'm going to get deep into some of the tactics here in a minute. But these two groups say Elon Musk is destroying our democracy, and he's using the fortune he built at Tesla to do it. We're taking action at Tesla to stop his illegal coup. Sell your Teslas. Dump your stock. Join the picket lines. I bet the rich people that own the Teslas, they're stopping at sell the Teslas. Then they make a video. I don't think they're going to throw the makeshift Molotov cocktails, Zach, at anybody themselves, because they know that these people are going to go to jail, and the people organizing them, they're not going to care. They're pawns to them. They also say stopping Musk will help save lives and protect our democracy. The stakes couldn't be higher. No one is coming to save us now. Not politicians, not the media, not the courts. Imagine believing this. This is what's always funny about this. You see down here, it says Tesla Takedown is a peaceful protest movement. Imagine being told that the stakes couldn't be higher, that no one is coming to save you, not the politicians, the media, or courts, and also, and I'll show you another email they sent out, that fascist dictators are going to take over if you don't put your body on the line. And then being told, but this is peaceful. That's the con. Because all of these groups are like, it wasn't our people that did the vandalism. We said be peaceful. Even though we said your whole world is going to crash down in front of you if you don't stop the fascist dictator. But do it peacefully. What a crock. Meanwhile, they're also giving ways to get bailed out of jail, and they're also telling them to engage in physical altercations with people who try and stop them from this performative activism. And I'll show you a document directly from Indivisible that encourages them to do that here in a second. And they say hashtag Tesla Takedown, hashtag boycott Tesla if you want to check out the hashtag that they're doing. Yeah, this stuff, a cry for help for sure. All these people, it's a cry for help. So, Indivisible has even more plans than just disrupting Teslas and Molotov cocktails and having handicapped people put bondage on and be weird in front of children. What they're also going to be doing is they're scheduling from March 15th. Let me get the dates right here. Yeah, March 15th to the 23rd. They're going to be going after Republicans and trying to shout them down during the recess, because that's apparently next week is when some of the members of Congress are going to be in their home districts. And so they see this as an opportunity to go after them. And they are calling this at Indivisible. They're calling it, I'll show you on screen here, they're calling it Musk or March Recess. And they have a whole toolkit telling their brainwashed horde, what's up, JC? Exactly what to do. And I mean literally exactly what to do. I'm going to show you some scripts. I'm going to show you all those signs you see held up. They all come from this website. There's no room for your own creative spin on any of that stuff. You are a drone who follows directions if you are a part of this group. And so, this group, by the way, I've talked about this a lot in the past. I've been covering this group since 2017, but it is getting a lot of attention nowadays. They were funded by Soros in the beginning. They got like $7 million or something from Open Society between 2017 and 2023. Soros launched a lot of these groups. He also launched Stacey Abrams. I think it was not Fair Fight. I don't know. It'll come to me. Stacey Abrams thanks George Soros in at least one of her books. She got her foundation launched here. She's also doing some direct action, I think, a week from Friday up at the Georgia State Capitol. So all of these are Soros. I'm not going to say Reid Hoffman because I don't have the evidence on me right now, but most likely Reid Hoffman funded groups. What's up, Dees? And so let's find out what we're going to do. This is what to look for next week because they have this plan, Indivisible does, for resisting Musk, specifically in Doge. They have a couple of other things that are on the back burner. But here's the email that I got from them today. And in this email, they admit to organizing many Tesla protests. They just kind of distance themselves after that from the vandalism. But then they're like, yeah, we got to stop fascism at all costs, but just peacefully, as I said. And the header of this email is from Indivisible today. We won't cower. Brad, over the past month, Indivisibles have been busy holding demonstrations at congressional offices, flooding Capitol Hill with calls and emails, peacefully protesting outside Tesla dealerships, and showing up at town halls in red, blue, and purple districts. This is what grassroots opposition looks like. That's hilarious. This is so far from grassroots. The opposition brings good attention. Hundreds of thousands of new folks. Make sure I'm reading that right. Sorry, I can't see my screen very well here. On our email list, if that's you, hi, it's not me. I've been on your email list for a while, Indivisible. And it continues by saying they form new groups. They say that in all the emails. They form new groups in every state. But good resistance is also intended to get the attention of those we're resisting, and it has. Over the past few weeks, Elon Musk has repeatedly attacked Indivisible and our supporters on his floundering social media platform. Is floundering, I'm sure. Particularly angry about activists protesting Tesla dealerships because they are firebombing them. Although he might not even be angry because he doesn't go to them. It's probably the workers there that are angry. Then Monday night on Fox, Jesse Waters, who I think is kind of a douche, that's me saying that personally, accused one of us of domestic terror. It is domestic terror. Firebombing, they say they're not doing it. Somebody's doing it. Maybe it's an FBI agent. But I've talked to some people in these groups. I'm worried about them. I'm worried that they'll do something crazy. And I'm like, dude, chill. These people work you up. So you don't have to get provocateurs if you can generate general insanity, actual, genuine insanity. But provocateuring helps too. So maybe they do. Maybe they have a little bit of both. And he urged FBI Director Kash Patel to investigate. They should be investigated, absolutely. Finally, the right-wing firestorm bubbled up to Trump, who said violence against Tesla should be designated as domestic terror. Blah, blah, blah. We don't know if that's just a chill dissent. But then it goes down to say, this administration is using all the tools at its disposal, from Musk's endless war chest to the unofficial state media of Fox, to the deployment of ICE against student protesters, to loony presidential proclamations about domestic terror, to strike fear into anyone who would defy them. But we will not cower. Fascists win when we voluntarily cede our power, and we've got bad news for Elon Musk and his vassal in the White House. Our movement's power is only growing. We will not cower. We will continue to be peaceful. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense there. And then they go on to tell people in the email what to do. Yeah, you should be very afraid, but here's what will happen. We won't cower, you cucks. Here's what you do to fight back. And they give you the 3 actions. And I'm going to show you what they're telling people to do next week. We'll start with, actually, let me show you here. They have join or start. Let me skip that one. Join an event. I want you guys to see the events. They have a calendar. So check this out. They don't have a ton of events around the country. They got some. They got some in Georgia. Let's see there. 101 down here in Georgia. Click in a little further. So that there. Certainly make themselves appear to be. So this one right here is actually kind of close to me in Marietta Square. The Ides of March. They're going to have a big rally, so that's a good one. If you want to go do a little trolling, that'd be a good one if you're in the Marietta area. But you can see where they're doing some of these things on their little calendar there. And they also have all the groups you can join, but I'm not going to show you that. Let's go to the Musk or Us toolkit. So Dees, who says floundering social media company like X, not Blue Sky. So Blue Sky, they have an entire document on the resource page on how to stop relying on X, a platform you have relied on for so long, and how to build up your profile into something where you can get the word out on Blue Sky. So they have a step-by-step tutorial on all of this. I'm not going to show you all the documents because there are so many, but I am going to show you a few of them right now. And so here's the Musk or Us recess toolkit. And all of they're all so long because I think they want to embed these messages in their head. I think it's all part of the programming. But the rallying call, I'm going to read part of the rallying call to you guys on the Indivisible website. This is a radicalization process. This is the you're very, very afraid. This is the activation. This is the Bolshevik tactic. This is Leninism. This is Saul Alinsky. Indivisibles put Republicans on notice during the first recess of the year by organizing 200 events across the country and directly challenging them for supporting billionaires like Elon Musk over their constituents. For the March recess, we need to go even bigger. This moment is about more than just funding cuts or extremist policies. It's about the growing influence of Elon Musk, who is using his unchecked power to drive his own agenda. Just imagine Doom music playing over this. To drive his own agenda, dismantle our democracy, and rig the system to benefit himself and other billionaires. Acting President Musk is rapidly consolidating power to secure massive handouts for himself and the Republican Party, including Trump. And the Republican Party, including Trump, is falling in line behind him. Republicans must be held publicly accountable for their allegiance to Musk over their own constituents. GOP leadership is directing their members to avoid any town halls after facing significant blowback this past recess. This is simply unacceptable. If Republicans refuse to face the people they were elected to represent, we must organize our accountability events to expose their corruption and force them to choose either stand with working families or pay a price for your betrayal. Starting Saturday, March 15th, and continuing through Sunday, March 23rd, this recess is our opportunity to remind the country that we don't do kings in America. We don't bow down to unelected billionaires. Every Republican must answer for their complicity in Musk's hostile takeover. Every Democrat must find the courage to respond with the urgency this crisis demands. And it's up to us to force their hands through strategic creative actions. The future of our democracy hinges on this moment. Join us in fighting back. How many times does democracy hinge on a moment for these people? If someone continues to be a member of a group like this after being told that 15 different things democracy hinges upon, then that's a radicalized person who will throw a makeshift Molotov cocktail into anywhere because they are living based on a fabricated future reality that will never happen, that has struck so much fear into them because they're completely brainwashed. And here's what they're going to do. Here's some of their to-dos. Let's see if this is the one with the to-dos here. They got so many different. Look at these photos here, these images. So we'll go to their resources, their art or their signs they tell people to print, and we can check and see. We can watch over the next week and see if they use these exact ones. I guarantee you they will. They always do. Okay, so recess tactics for... All right, so here's what they want to do. They're trying to get every member of Congress, especially Republicans, to have an in-district town hall because what they say, Indivisible says, that gives them the maximum visibility opportunity, and they can plan in a way that they can turn it into a major headline. That's what the document says. Ideal option number one, we get these Republicans to fall into the trap of a town hall that we will just take over and get a headline. But because they know that a lot of these Republicans aren't going to show up because they already did this. They did this last time, a couple months ago, and they've done it for years. The next best option is Indivisibles will be organizing empty chair town halls to spotlight their absence. And they already have people like this douchebag. You guys remember him? You guys remember Tampon Tim? Here they are talking about. So it's not just going to be them random indivisibles at the local level coming up to an empty chair with rubber chickens and throwing condoms at each other with wheelchair bondage ladies there or whatever weird stuff it is they do. They're going to be having actual Democrat politicians show up to these empty chair events outside their district and highlight how terrified the Republican is. They're running scared, and then that will become the news story. And they're going to have the media locked into them, ready to report it regardless of what happens. So they already got the media buy-in to this, at least on MSNBC and CNN. And here's Tampon Tim talking about it with, I can't tell if this is Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, or Stephen Colbert.
Filling a vacuum, there was a word reported last week, the head of the Republican Congressional Committee that sort of, is talking to those frontline members, basically telling all members, House members, Republican members, don't have town halls. It's not worth it. You're just going to get yelled at. Don't do it. And a few Democrats, and I think you're one of them, have basically said, look, we'll do it. If you've got an area of this country that you want to talk to someone and your own Republican rep won't talk to you, I'll go do it. Is that still an open offer from you?
Yeah, I'm going Friday, I think. I'm headed to Iowa. I'm going to go do it. I've been asked by these folks if it works. I'm going to go use the platform that I have and hand them the megaphone to talk about this. I wouldn't do those town halls if I were them either, because they have to defend cutting Medicare, cutting Medicaid, hurting their local public school, fighting a trade war with Canada, just the nonsense and defending President Musk. So I lived through these in 2010 when the Tea Party was there, and they're telling them that these are outside agitators. I heard a few Democrats in 2010 try and say,
he's talking about how it's not true that they're outside agitators, while he's literally saying that he is going to go be an outside agitator at one of these empty chair town halls that they have already predetermined are going to be the news next week. I'm telling you, the news next week through the 15th and the 23rd will be these empty chair town halls in Republican districts, and these outside agitators like Tim Walz, who he's just admitting that he's doing while also saying isn't true, will be one of the ones featured.
Oh, don't worry about it. These are outside educators. They were not. They were my neighbors.
Right.
And they were mad and confused about what was going to happen. Now, did the Republicans gin those up? Yeah, they threw fuel on that fire. I'm going to go out there and make sure that those folks down in Iowa know that their rep doesn't want to come talk to him, but he voted for this stuff.
He's just admitting he's going to go be an outside agitator.
Voted to defund these things. He voted to make it impossible to talk to the VA and cut 70,000 people to care for our veterans. By the way, many of those 70,000 veterans themselves. So I think, again, this is us going out and talking to people, making the case that people are absolutely clear that both parties are not the same. One stands with Elon Musk, the billionaires, and the dismantling of America as we know it, and one that's going to be there for their families. And if we're not out there,
well, just like Joe Biden was for his granddaughter, Hunter's bastard child that they refused to bring to the White House or ever meet.
Donald Trump, all the podcasts.
I shouldn't say that. I feel sorry for that kid, but they treated that kid awful. It's just the hypocrisy, and not that anybody watching this network recognizes that.
That's all the money will fill that void.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going. And if they ask, I'll go. And look, I hope people show up at that town hall and say, look, Governor, what are you offering? Are you offering anything better? That's fair. But not to turn your back and not do it, it's dangerous. Dangerous.
So there's only a limited number of seats in these town halls. And it's a matter of who gets there first. And these activist resource guides, they tell them to get there hours early. They let them know about that. But people on the other side also know. So from my experiences going to the state elections board meetings in Atlanta, first time I went, it was overrun by the progressive activist. The second time, it was more occupied by the election integrity people because they realized they got beat to the front line the previous time. I'm guessing that both sides are going to be trying to get there super early. This could be a camping out situation. Wouldn't surprise me if some sort of conflict happened outside one of these things with people fighting to be, if they actually hold one, okay, with people fighting to be the first one in. Although I would say this, if a Republican congressperson is not going to have a town hall, because why would you when this is going to be the thing that happens? And I'll tell you the pre-planned questions they give them. We already know what questions they're going to ask them because they sent it in an email and they gave it in a script on the resource site. It would be fun for people on the other side to try and get there early and do the same thing to this empty chair thing as they're trying to do to people who actually show up. I mean, it's all a circus. D says, Brad always noticing patterns sounds suspect. Well, maybe I might be like, I hope I don't have a brain chip. Will people remember that they've been brain chipped? I wonder if they don't want them to. Because if that's the case, we're in trouble. All right, so here's how they're going to do the empty chairs. Or here's how they're going to, not the empty chairs, the town halls are empty chairs. Let me get this other thing back up because I want to show you. I'm going to get in kind of the weeds here a little bit. Just because people have been talking about this a lot, and these resources are out there, so I think it's worth actually diving into some of this a little bit here. I know there. Okay. Is that all right? There's the goals for holding a town hall. It's to get media attention, is really what it is. To make, okay, the goals of the town hall. Every Republican owes their constituents answers for why they're willingly risking a government shutdown. This is one of the things they're targeting. To enable Trump and Musk power grab and why they support ripping away Medicare or Medicaid and other essential programs. If they truly believe that their MAGA agenda will benefit the country, they should be eager to face people they claim to fight for in a town hall. But that's the thing. They're not going to be facing people they're fighting for. They're going to be facing a bunch of activists who are sent there. If they don't hold a town hall, they will turn their silence into a story, it says in the goals. Even if they go out of their way to avoid public confrontation, we'll be organizing hard-hitting events in their district with or without them. That's what I was talking about a moment ago. That's why you have all these Democrat politicians already planning to go be outside agitators. One of the first things they do is they say register on mobilize.us. So here's how they find each other. These groups set up either we're going to go ambush a town hall or we're going to set up one of these empty chair town halls. And the way you start by doing that is you either go and see if there's one already set up, or you go register yours on what's called Mobilize. And Mobilize is a site I've talked about a lot. It's called mobilize.us is what it is. And if you go to that site, you will find a number of events happening in your area because it does it by location. And by registering that and then sending out all these mass emails to Indivisible, then having Rachel Maddow pump it out on MSNBC, they can create awareness of what's going on and get all these weirdos in the same place at the same time. Then after that, they have all of their Indivisibles, they call them, send mass emails out to all their friends. They give them a fill-in-the-blank press adversary or press release thing. I'll show you. Some of this stuff is very elaborate. Where is that? All right, here it is. Okay, so you see here, to get the word out, they teach them how to contact media through email, through social media, all various forms of social media, and they tell them exactly what to say. And they give them 10 different ways, including this document here on Indivisible site, press release, media adversaries, and more. And of all the different ways that they teach them, the tools that they cover in this training is press releases, media advisories, statements available for comment, emails. They teach them how to use social media to communicate with the press, and they teach them important tips on making their releases and statements go far. And when you scroll down here, here's the basic structure. For every single one of them, they give them a script. Title: city where an article this would be taking place. Summarize what happens. And then they say, quote, first sentence of a quote, second sentence of a quote, paragraph 1 and 2 of more background, making the argument more than the topic is important. Optional. First sentence of and then they give them examples too. When you go to the trainings, they show them exactly. And then they say, here's a more basic structure of a media advisory. And this one is literally scripted out. You just plug it in. Indivisible activist in city state. And then they tell them what to say. We'll be delivering flags or whatever to rep's name. It's like a Mad Libs. You plug it in. And then here's the statements. Indivisible sample statement. And they give it to them. You just plug it in. Available for comment. All this stuff. Example available for comment. You just plug. These people don't have to think at all. They don't want them thinking. They want them following all of this. They want them stupid. I'm not going to go through all of that, but you see there's various different scripts on there. And they also have a bunch of tips for making good connections with journalists, which a lot of it is to pitch them stories on social media, and they tell them exactly the type of journalist, a friendly journalist to find, and the framing of the stories, which is basically Trump, Musk bad, because they give them the issue of importance. They set the agenda setting power, and then they just frame it for them, and then they go hit these local news media people, and then the national Indivisible people, who they also tell them to email everything they do and they tell them to record it all to the National Indivisible group, and then they pick the best ones. Then Rachel Maddow broadcasts them as a reward. And that's how the carrot and stick system works, at a brief, it's really in depth. They have like endless amounts of pages here, but here's what they do next, okay? Register the event, promote it. Then what they do is they tell people what issue, as I said, to care about. And they tell them to create a personal story how it's connected to them. So Doge is cutting blank. And by cutting blank, it is going to impact you personally because why? And they can fabricate something like this. Stacey Abrams is the best at doing this. And making it seem like something completely unrelated to her actually has a devastating, oppressive impact on her life. And then they get all these people into training groups. And together, they all practice coming up with these stories that are connected to these issues that they've been told are important to them. And whoever they can find has the best personal story and who can tell that story the best openly in front of people, that is the person who you see holding the paper and reading from the script at these town halls. And all the other people, they're like, you did a good job. What your job at the town hall is, we love you still, is you're going to be holding up the signs. So it's like they recruit the best spokespeople or the people who have the most obviously or easily connected to the issue story. If they're lucky, they'll find somebody who's a combination of both. This is like how you find the people who you can bring in to accuse Brett Kavanaugh of gangbanging you or whatever it is by some, indirect connection that they can twist and say, maybe you saw. It's all very convoluted. But when you are fighting democracy or fighting a dictator going to destroy your democracy, why wouldn't you do it? And they give you a section on one-on-one conversations to manipulate people like that too, which we'll get to in a second. Sorry if this is disjointed. I'm just trying to get through some of this. It's just so much stuff. Probably should break it up a little bit more. But, all right, so that's all before the event. That's the preparation. So they've alerted the media after putting it on Mobilize. They've got the people there. They've told them when to show up. They've practiced. They give them a list of questions. They don't get their own questions. They don't get their own signs. They're told to print and bring the same sign or they're given the same sign. And they get to the actual meeting. And here's what happens at the meeting. It says, get there early, meet up, and get organized. The venue usually opens its doors an hour or so before the event. As many of you as possible should arrive as early as possible to begin distributing signs, handouts of questions, and the speaker list, and reviewing the ground rules. Then you need to head into the venue and spread out. So I thought this was interesting. They don't want them in one place. They want to spread them out so they seem bigger than they are. It may be helpful to have a floor plan of the venue in hand so that you can direct members to certain areas as they come in to prevent clustering together. This is important because if a member of Congress senses that there's a block of opposition on one side, they will simply ignore it. They also tell them, actually, I'm about to get to that. And then they say, basically, be loud and obnoxious and make sure reporters know who you are. We're indivisible. We're here to fight all this oppression. And they say, most of you to wear your indivisible swag, unless you are one of the few people who have been chosen to ask a question and tell your story connected to it. Then you don't want to be recognized as indivisible because you will not be called on. You see the manipulation there? Take away all the stuff that will identify you as this trap question person so you get called on and then you can do it. Make sure everyone there is prepared with a question in case they're called on and that others are ready to record them. Everybody must record. Then they say, get ready to weigh in. After the member of Congress opens the floor, everyone in your group who's ready to speak should raise their hand. So everybody's raising their hand. Ask your questions. If you've come as an organized group, you can then start to go through the list of questions you've already prepared. Tell your stories, it says. Personal stories have the power to disrupt the normal procedure. So this is where they tell the emotional, they try and find the most emotional, it's almost never true story. Then it would be hard. Hey, I had 18 babies die in front of me. It's hard to ignore that as a member of Congress. So they try to go extreme emotional atrocity propaganda in these stories. There's no way to deflect or dodge when faced with a powerful personal story, or lie is really what it is. And this is interesting right here. Remember I told you about how they tell them to get into confrontations. Do not give up the mic. Let me find that part so I can show you. Might be on this other page. Do not give up the mic. Well, that's not it. I don't think I spelled that right. Sorry, I want to put this part on screen. That ain't it either. If I can't find it, then I'll post it later. So everybody knows I'm not making it up, because I'm definitely not. What the heck, dude? Oh, here you go. Here you go. This is it right here. All right, here it is. All right, you see down here at the bottom, this is the town hall guide. This is a full town hall guide. At the town hall. Do not give up the mic until you're satisfied with the answer. If you've asked a hostile question, a staffer will often try to limit your ability to follow up by taking the microphone back immediately after you finish speaking. They can't do that if you keep a firm hold on the mic. If they object, then say politely but loudly, "I'm not finished. The member of Congress is dodging my question. Why are you trying to stop me from following up?" Use the crowd to your advantage. Ask them to cheer or stand in solidarity if they want the member of Congress to answer your question before moving on. That is a instruction to get into a physical confrontation. Yeah. Peaceful protest. Now do this thing that will ensure you will get into a physical confrontation and probably get dragged out. That's how they do this. They say, we're peaceful, but put your body on the line. Don't move. Make them drag you away. And they say, keep the pressure on. After one member of your group finishes a question, everyone should raise their hand. And the next member of the group to be called on should either move down the list of questions or just ask the same one if they didn't address the previous ones. It's an ambush. And obviously, and this is a coordinated sign part. Show your approval or disapproval. Okay, here it is. Yeah, show your approval or disapproval. Create a set of coordinated signs. Any indivisible groups have come to town halls with hundreds of identical signs and put them to great use. Many indivisible groups have come with hundreds of signs and put them to great use. Identical signs. Some have used plain red and green signs to show their support and displeasure. Others have used thumbs up and thumbs down. Whatever mass sign you decide to use, know that it will create a powerful image to serve as a powerful tactic, throwing your MOC off their game. Now let me show you this. Over here. All right, so coming back over here to this document. This is the resource and link section of the Musk or Us recess page. You have event reimbursements. They can get money. They can get money paid back up to $200 for their stuff, which is probably not enough for bail. And then they have 8 general resources. And the general resources are start an Indivisible group, Indivisible town hall, building a relationship with your member of Congress, the stuff we've been talking about, how to get your the press to cover your event, and then the safety and security stuff, which involves getting arrested, and then the Trump-Musk coup resources, which these are all call scripts or emails. I showed you a call script yesterday. Okay, maybe the emails aren't in there, but the emails are in one of these. But then you go up here to the signs and promo graphics. Click on this, and over here, you're going to see people holding these signs next week. No kings. And it's Trump and Musk on a card. Traitor. It's Musk or us. Whose side are you on? GTFO, Elon. Fire Elon Musk. Block, delay, obstruct. No excuses. Americans against oligarchy. No one voted for Elon Musk. We've seen that one already. No, isn't enough. Fight back. No, isn't enough. Fight back. And then you have these down here, which we've seen these already, these graphics. Musk or us. I've seen these a dozen times already. People want to know where these signs come from. This is where they come from. And the reason they all have the same ones is because they've been convinced that everybody holding the same one is powerful. That's the same reason all those Democrat Congress people were saying the same script in that video while holding that microphone. That wasn't a mistake. They did that on purpose because they're trying to put people in they're trying to brainwash them, a trance they're trying to put them in. That or give them epilepsy. And then it goes on to say, I love this part. Chants. Let me change it back there. So you see up on screen, develop a set of chants that can be paired with your signs to amplify approval or disapproval. Then a member of Congress tries to dodge a clear yes or no question. Chanting yes or no makes it harder for them to get away with it. I mean, it's how you turn somebody into a retard. And finally, record everything. Assign people in your group to use a smartphone or video camera to record other advocates asking questions and the members of Congress' response. While written transcripts are nice, unfavorable exchanges caught on video can be devastating for members of Congress. These clips can be shared through social media and picked up by local and national media. Send your videos and stories to local press and to our press team for support, press@indivisible.org. Share everything everywhere. Social media coverage is crucial for shaping the narrative, especially with so many people watching what happens during the recess. Share your answers and videos on Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and TikTok. And here are the questions. I'll show you guys the questions they're going to ask. Look at these trap questions. They even admit in the documents here they're trap questions. I guess this isn't the right one here. All right. All right. Okay. Questions to ask your Republican member of Congress. And it says, these questions are designed to corner them, force them to answer for their complicity, and make them squirm. You can use this website created by House Democrats to pull district-specific data on how Republicans' economic plans would impact constituents. And here are the questions, the key questions. Do you think those making over $50 million a year should receive a tax break? How about $100 million? Keep raising the number to force them to either compromise on or compromise on an amount or acknowledge that when it comes to helping their billionaire donors, the limit does not exist. Next question. Your plan slashes Medicaid and food assistance, but gives Elon Musk a tax break. Why? Are you still beating your wife? Why? How do you justify cutting meals for kids while cutting taxes for billionaires? You will see these questions aired on MSNBC by the people who ask them the best. Republicans claim to be fiscally responsible, so why are you increasing the deficit for the benefit of billionaires? Why is the Trump tax scam funding a tax on immigrants instead of holding billionaires accountable? And do you support the budget reconciliation process to force Project 2025 on the country? These are not serious people. Why would you even engage in this? But it's a win-win for them either way, because if not, you got Tampon Tim coming there, and they're going to cover it, saying he was afraid to show up and answer these questions. Another question on one of their other documents said this. It said, why are you letting Trump starve kids and evict families in your district? That was kind of funny, actually. Why are you letting Trump starve kids while buying Teslas? Why haven't you stood up to Trump's assault on democracy? And finally, I think this is the last. Yeah, this is the last bit here. They have a little a safety page, a safety portion here, because they're asking people to do things that are, confrontational. A note on event safety and privilege. So it's actually a different one. Safety, privilege. All right, I'm reading from the one that's called A Note on Safety and Privilege. Plan your actions to ensure that no one is asked to take on a role that they are not comfortable with, especially those roles that call for semi-confrontational behavior, and be mindful of the fact that not everyone is facing an equal level of threat. Members of your group who enjoy more privilege should think carefully about how they can ensure that they are using their privilege to support other members of the group. If you are concerned about potential law enforcement intimidation, consider downloading your state's version of the ACLU mobile justice app to ensure that any intimidating behavior is captured on film. They just want to entrap, they want to bait people, catch them on film, and ruin their lives. These people, they're awful. All right. For that. So they also have, just to give you guys, I'm not going to go through any of these, but they also have, they're saying white people should get arrested. That's exactly what they're saying, Zach. That's exactly what they're saying. Yes, the white people should be the ones. And they should be the ones throwing the Molotov cocktails. Such a gross mindset, says Cosmic Cowboy. So they also have documents on using QR codes so people can just get group info and ballot ready mobile, whatever. They can give a bunch of information through a QR code. They have documents on diversity, equity, and inclusion resources. Where did that go? Best practices in racial justice allyship. And some of the documents' names are White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. I wasn't aware I had an invisible knapsack. Qualified Immunity Explained. Anti-racism resources for white people. Oh, good. Do they have those for black people? It's probably one page. Blame white people. Calling in and calling out guide. Harvard Office of Equity, Diversity, and what does that mean? I wonder. You calling in sick, or what is that? I tried to click on some of these, but this Harvard one won't let me do it. I got to sign in. So they wouldn't give me like half these documents. Here, I'll show you. So look at this. Yeah, I got to sign in. I don't have a Harvard sign-in thing, so I can't get it. How to protest safely, what to bring and what to do and what to avoid. Bring a white person. It's probably an older one. What kind of society values property over black lives? That's from the New York Times. How to be inclusive, an introduction. Pronouns, a resource. Oh, good. Supporting transgender and gender nonconforming educators and students. Thank God I found this document. I'll take it with me everywhere I go. Important terms. Cisgender, cisnormative, cisnormativity. Gender, gender binary, gender expression, gender identity, gender non-binary, gender nonconforming, pronouns, transgender. That seems like a limited number to me, honestly. I don't feel like they're totally inclusive there. Another one is to build an inclusive culture, start with inclusive meetings. That's another Harvard one. Standing indivisible against white supremacy, a guide to indigenous land acknowledgement. Confederate statutes were never really about preserving history. Of course, you can read everybody's mind. Anti-racist resources, tools for white anti-racist organizing from a place of love. Tools for white guys who are working for social change. It's a self-hating document, I assume. White supremacy culture. Probably what they would say this is. Understanding white privilege. What is white privilege really? The case for reparations on white fragility. Why it's so hard to talk to white people about racism. Robert DiAngelo. How the government betrayed a landmark civil rights case, and what I said when my friend asked my black opinion on white privilege. Okay, so there you go. If you want to check any of those out. And then I thought this was an interesting document, then we'll get out of here. This is the art of one-on-one, they call it. The one-on-one meeting. So they don't just use all of these people they organize as pawns who they don't care if they go to prison for 20 years for terrorism, for throwing Molotov cocktails. They also look for the skilled ones who they can give a promotion to, who will do what they say, but who commands some sort of leadership over, or has influence over others in the group and probably speaks the messages better than others, or fits the, the whatever physical and gender stereotype they want to use to influence certain groups. And so this is where the art of one-on-one comes in. How to build relationships that build power is what this document's about. And it's pretty short, so I'll just go through it. One of the most important tools organizers have in the toolbox is the one-on-one meeting. And they tell them everything to say. You don't have to come up with any. It's all done for you. Like it sounds, one-on-one is an intentional organizing meeting between two people to get to know one another, to check in on progress on a project, to escalate a volunteer to leadership, and more. Maybe they give them the indivisible Molotov cocktails in these meetings. These meetings often happen between indivisible organizers and group leaders, and we encourage group leaders to have them with their members as well. No matter how many new and exciting digital tools we organize to stay in touch, there will never be a replacement for the face-to-face conversations that we can tell you to do criminal activity that can't be documented. I threw that part in. That might not be what happens. Probably. Relationship building is one of the most important, blah, blah, blah. Okay, maintenance one-on-one. You can't just meet someone and then never follow up. A maintenance 101 is what happens in between introductions and escalations. I mean, this is this is very strategic. They target people for this. The organizational weapon, Bolshevik strategy and tactics, is written like 1950. This stuff is right out of there. A one-on-one is what happens in between introductions and escalations. It's anytime you're having an intentional conversation to check in on the progress of a project, role in the group. And so this document here, download the PDF for this resource. Can't get it. I requested access. I don't know that I'll get it. One-on-one framework. Everyone will follow a different flow. No, they won't. They'll follow exactly this. There's 4 key components for successful one-on-ones. Number 1, intention. There must be a purpose or goal in setting up a one-on-one meeting. It could range from, I know you care about immigration and want to talk about what our group is planning around this important issue. 2, you've been part of this group for a year, and I want to learn what really draws you to this work. These are all, this is fishing for ways to exploit these people is what this looks like to me. Don't beat around the bush, be upfront. Then number 2, exploration. Most of the one-on-one is devoted to exploration. Fishing for exploitation is what I think it is. By asking probing questions to learn the other person's values, interests, and resources, and to also share your own. Example, probing questions can be, what brought you to this work? So when you watch these Indivisible trainings with these 2 weirdos, Ezra and his mousy wife, Ezra, the little guy who looks like he has AIDS, very gay guy who's apparently married to this mousy lady, they say these things all the time. What brought you to this work? Could be probing questions like, what are you interested in working on next? You played a big role in this action. How do you feel now? This should go deeper than just talking about Trump or the weather. Really dig into what drives someone and what their personal stake in this work is. You should also share about yourself as well. It's good to get to know people, but this is just such a manipulative context. It's like, feels like a CIA officer trying to find out how they can turn someone into, compromise them, turn them into an informant or something. Number 3, the third part of this one-on-one, alignment slash agitation. Using the shared values you just identified, it's important to take a moment to share the large picture vision. Picture this. This could be the vision of your group or your vision for the leader's development. I guess if they don't make it, they'll just, I don't know, kill them. Earlier, I said, this is an example, quote, earlier I heard you say that you want to do state legislative work next. That's great news. The great news is that we have a state legislative committee that I think you would be a great fit for. But here's what you're going to have to do to be a part of it. Zip. There's going to be a compromise there. I mean, just look at what we already went through, the way they treat other people who disagree with them. Imagine if you all of a sudden disagree with them. You're going to get treated the same way, probably worse. And finally, commitment or ask. A successful one-on-one meeting ends with a commitment or an ask. Sometimes ask is very specific. Can we count on you to join our next action? Can we count on you? That's such a narcissistic, like, dominate. Like, hey, can we count on you to do this? Or are you going to let everybody down? Type. You know, it's like abusive. Not to say that somebody who says that phrase in a different context and a different tone, but we all know the tone they're using here. It's all about shame. I mean, there's shame riddled through this. You had nothing before we found you. We found you and we gave you something, and you have thrived in this little area of the country at organizing these other people. Would you like to be promoted? Maybe be like us, maybe even make a little money. Can we count on you to do this thing you probably would not want to do? and other items, it can be a commitment to meet again, whatever. Regardless of what it is, a commitment is to the continuous relationship, to continuously being compromised. I don't like these people at all, man. They're just so manipulative. All right. Manipulative cult stuff. Absolutely. Absolutely. Truth. 100%. It's very culty. There is so many more documents where that came from, by the way. So many more resources that are all crazy like that. If you guys want to check them out, it's indivisible.org. Click on the resources. This is the group that they're talking about in the news. This is the one that they're saying they're connecting to Act Blue, Soros. I've been connecting them to those groups since 2017. It's good that people are finally paying attention to them, but I'm telling you, in their emails, they're using it to recruit more people. They're saying they're the most powerful man in the world, and the president. They're coming after us little people now. We're grassroots, and they're coming after us, the authoritarians. So they're both using it. I would like to see them get, an investigation into them, just like an investigation into Stacey Abrams, is probably going to find some sort of racketeering thing. If I had to guess, speculating, I'm just speculating. With due process done, I would like to see these groups investigated. These are awful, awful groups. Denver, you've been watching basketball. Yeah, I was watching basketball earlier. Tech won earlier this afternoon, which means tomorrow I get to watch them get absolutely destroyed by Duke in the ACC tournament. So that's going to be fun. For those who aren't basketball fans, it is conference tournament week before Selection Sunday. Truth says, I've been going off on these people that talk about white supremacy. I'm not white, but if they don't have the balls to talk about Jewish supremacy, I don't want to hear that bullshit. It seems to be unequal in the type of supremacies that people are talking about, for sure. Such a gross mindset, says Cosmic Cowboy. I think I put that one up there. All right, guys. Catching the Binkster alive, says Sweet Cheeks. Yes, you are. Sweet Cheeks, yeehaw to that as well. So I think that's going to wrap it up. I appreciate you hanging out and letting me get through all that. I know that was a lot, but it's out there, man. What they're doing is they put it out there online, so check it out if you want. Subscribe to one of their things, and you'll get all their emails, and you'll see all the stuff before it happens. It's really interesting. And you can even find out about their meetings, and you can maybe go, troll them if you want. Whatever. Have some fun with it. Anyway, don't do what this lady did at the Georgia Capitol, who for some reason put a bondage outfit on, and we'll close it.
I was free once, non-clinical. You so technical.
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Propagandafight.com. Freedom Act Radio on X, youtube.com/Brad Binkley. We'll talk to you guys next time. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your day.